allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Open meeting notice.
Meeting notices were posted on Friday, March 29th at the library, the post office, the city hall, and the website.
Thank you. Council acceptance of agenda.
Motion to accept.
Second. Motion and a second to accept the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Personal appearances for non-agenda items. So good up there. Minutes from March 18th, we need approving here.
To accept from March 18th.
A second.
Motion and a second to approve the March 18th minutes. Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did you
No
say?
corrections or additions?
No, none.
Okay. That motion passes.
Aye.
5-1, I believe. Would you say April Fools after that? Okay, let's go to the committee reports. Finance.
Finance met earlier today. I'll make a motion to approve bills and payroll in the amount of $219,543.95.
Second.
Motion and a second to pay the bills. Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve the temporary Class B beer and wine license for Edgerton Hospital Foundation for June 28th.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve Class B license. Any discussion? June 28th, is that the right date?
June 28th. What? That's your birthday? No, you just had one.
That's Cheryl's anniversary.
Miss Cheryl.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve cigarette, tobacco, and electronic vaping license for hemp 1848.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the cigarette, tobacco, and electronic license. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to start the revocation process of the Class B liquor license for the Decoy Bar and Grill.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to start revocation of Class B license. Any discussion?
Are there any requests for a license? I mean, is there been any formal requests from business owners to get one
yes,
before? Okay.
with one person that's interested.
We're gonna get this out right away, so it can be on the next meeting.
Well, we have to revoke his first before we can offer it to someone else, but yes, we're gonna go as fast as we can. But as fast as the law will allow.
And if you say surrendered, it'd make it a lot easier.
It would,
You
yes,
gotta give it to me, just being a pain. And then you say an officer will be serving the summons?
yes.
Can I do a regular that day?
Fortunately, if he doesn't live in town, we'll have to have the county serve.
Yeah.
Is that an expense to us then?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
We do favors for them too, so.
All it said was a police officer. It didn't say who had to do it, so you know the law better than me as to do that.
It'll get done.
Hopefully we don't need to.
Nice.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
I'll make a motion to award the bid for the Albion Street reconstruction project to the lowest responsible bid, BKS Construction.
I'll second.
Motion with a second.
Barely got that out, didn't you? Yeah.
Approve the Albion Street reconstruction project. Any discussion?
Something we haven't already had. But one of the options, Bill, if we didn't give it to them, outside the obvious, so we could just fight that.
Well, we lose, probably. We spend some money on it and, I'm not recommending it, but yeah, I mean, if he didn't find you, then you challenge it, then nothing would happen.
We just,
I
just
know,
because
technically, there could be a taxpayer lawsuit because you're spending more money than, you would need to otherwise.
we couldn't pay him the difference and then just give it to him.
Please don't show up, we'll pay you not to show up. I think the other guys-
Now, you said it out loud.
And it's recorded.
Respect him in the record. Respect him in the record, please. Don't push my little
Jim
button.
Burdick.
Oh, I'm pushing my button. You can't hear me now?
That was when you say April Fools.
Oh, April Fool's. Moving on.
Okay, and we do have the performance standards or whatever it has to meet, and we can impose fines if it does not meet. Okay. I don't know if fines would be worth the grief we may get if this happens like the last one, but
I'm
this is something.
hopeful that your discussion made the difference, it's gonna make the difference.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Shaw,
Yes.
Kribel,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Yes.
Burdick.
Yes.
Motion passed.
That's all for finals.
All right, thank you. Fire district.
Okay, we have Chief Pickering here this evening, Chief handed something out, Chief, I'm gonna let you go through the highlights, please.
Absolutely, nothing in
Yeah.
Standard stuff is at the top, you can kind of look at that, City of Edgerton for the month of February. We got it back under 5 minutes, thank heavens. 44 calls for the month, 147 so far for the year. I'll highlight the simultaneous incidents, you'll notice the 20, that is the largest number so far this year. The good news for all of you is that most of those were in Fulton and Albion. So it didn't affect the way it was affecting the response times in Edgerton earlier. Don't have the updated inspection information, but we're doing really well there. Staffing, we continue to do real well. We did have one resignation, but our overhire process allowed us to backfill it without any kind of issues. Financially, through the month of February, don't have the March data wrapped up yet. We're in the green. So that gets us to the things that you're probably most interested in. 2 structure fires during the month of March, that was on top of 4 from the month of February. Stuffies, talked a little bit about that one. Any questions, let me know. Otherwise, the residential structure fire here in Edgerton, I sent a note to Chief Kowalski and Sheriff Fell. I would just describe it as unbelievably hectic and chaotic in the first 5 minutes. It is not very often that the dispatcher is telling you you have 10 people trapped above a fire. The neighbors actually were helping. There were 4 occupants that got out through some rather unconventional means. One came down on a series of bed sheets tied together from the 2nd floor window. One of the children came down by the parents tying his ankles to the end of a bed sheet and lowering him down to the neighbors. And then 2 of the older children were between ages 1 and 12, I think, is the oldest one. The oldest two did climb down the bed sheets, and Chief Walski's officer, I'm sure she was met with the same chaotic situation that everybody else was. I thought the most interesting part of this, when we talked to the Rock County 911 Center, they had dispatchers, other than the fire and law dispatcher, on the phone with neighbors, waking them up and going, do you have a ladder? And they were literally, it's almost like the AED, you know, where they can describe how to do chest compressions over the phone. I mean, they were literally waking up neighbors trying to get a ladder over there to keep the rest of them from jumping out the window. So again, just kind of adds to the hectic nature of it. Our law enforcement partners did phenomenal. The firefighters were able to, as they would bring the kids down, the younger kids, just be able to hand them to an officer or a deputy and go right back up. So it worked. My absolute favorite one-liner from later that morning was the firefighter who was going up and down the ladder, looked at me and goes, they just kept coming. We got very lucky that night. Our staffing, and you're well aware of our staffing issues, we actually had an extra person who was spending the night at the fire station because they were going to a training class the next morning at 6 a.m. So we really got lucky because what it allowed us to do was split the crew so that two of the crew members could work on the rescues. And that was all that was all the room there was. I mean, they were all in one window, they were all coming out, so couldn't have tied more than two up doing that anyway. And then the other half of the crew went to work getting the fire knocked down. So, you know, obviously we'd have focused on the rescue, right? The firefighting effort would have just, you know, gone by the wayside until we got everybody out. But we got extremely lucky on that one, having just by accident an extra person in the station. So
Can I ask, like, was that code compliant, that duplex, was that?
I was waiting for those questions. There are lots of questions related to what transpired or what was there and all that kind of stuff. So it's, yeah, there's several questions that need to get followed up on. Insurance companies are rather deeply involved in a lot of those as well. As to what was officially listed on the lease and just, right, and you can imagine all the questions that came out because of the situation. Very, very fortunate, so.
Was the fire mainly in the stairwell? And I
Yeah,
when I saw it, and it was the only exit from the.
which is yet another question, right? Right? The front door, I mean, this was an old two-story home, right? So we kind of know, right? And I don't know, some of you guys may know, I don't know how long it's been a two-flat.
Long time.
Yeah. So the front door, there was then a door partition going into the first floor apartment and then the stairway going up to the second. And there was then a door added at the top of the second floor. The fire was on the outside, if you will, of that second floor door on the landing. Believed probably to be smoking related. So blocking their exit to be able to get out. And again, it was 5:30 a.m. in the morning, right? You wake up at 5:30 in the morning, it is dark out, your smoke alarms are going off and there's smoke pouring in under your door. I mean, we kind of get the hectic nature of that. I mean, at the end of the day, it was not the largest fire, right, we've ever fought. But I understand, you know, for them, that just had to be an unbelievably frightful situation with 7 small children and the way it was.
Smoke alarms was my next question. They did have that.
And that was every media entity I talked to, number one, you know, complimented our law enforcement partners for helping us because of the chaotic nature of it, but then led with smoke detectors probably saved their lives, because give that fire another 2, 3, 4 minutes, we'd have had a fully blown structure fire with 10 people in peril. So yeah, they're very, very fortunate. Neighbors did a great job. I mean, I know, you know, they were out back in nothing but bare feet and, you know, Night Clothing, tried to help, but believe they were the ones who, the neighbor was one who caught one of the kids that was coming down and that kind of thing, so.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
What jurisdiction or what entity sets occupancy rates for a second story apartment?
So it's the building inspector, and, fire department, our job is enforcement, right, and I don't know the ordinances related to rental properties, right? They're residential rental properties, and I don't even know that those are, I'm looking for any glitch here.
They're not inspected. And if it predated the UDC, then there were no requirements prior to that to have second exits. And
Yeah.
family definition is family. So if you have 7 children,
Right.
you can have 7 children. So there is no occupancy limit on how many people you can have. I mean, we have limits of non-unrelated people, which is a difficult ordinance, obviously, to enforce, but if there's a family, it is.
And my second question, you just said something that I think answered it, but here's why I ask. I live in a house that was built a single family home. It was 2-unit from the early 1950s to 1990 was when it was 2 units, and it had 2 separate exits, 2 doors from the second story, but they didn't do for the heck of it, I don't think, because,
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
did a number on a house. So why, at one point, did that happen? And does anyone know the historical context of when was it okay if someone wanted to start creating apartments in second stories to not have that second door? Because they blasted a door through what was a window in a brick house, like that wasn't an easy undertaking when they built that, and then built a, balcony with steps to get down, so I look at that like, wow, that had to have been required at one point, and then at some point, we start letting these old homes go to one.
I don't think it happened in that order, right? When a code changes, right, when a safety element is introduced, anything that was compliant prior to that, you can't go backwards, right? So, again, not been here long enough to know, but I think it's been this way for a long time.
Probably the same time as yours or more recent than yours, though.
My understanding from the building inspector is when the UDC code came in, I think he said 1980. That's when, 1980, I think he said.
Yeah,
I'm going in memory, so that's not always good, but at that point, that would have been a different circumstance. If it predated that, then it's grandfathered.
I actually looked at that house, possible investment in 2014.
That's about the same time we looked at it was for sale. Casey needed a place to live.
I was in there about 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
I was not that before at all.
So if a place had a second exit on an upstairs apartment and it went away, this building's not that old, I mean, that 70 years old, that has been put back.
Did
If
it?
it's a 2-unit?
Yeah.
Well, that we wouldn't, if we knew they took the stairway out and made it a single family again, they can't convert that without a conditional use permit, at least, and then that's when
It's still a 2-unit.
the building, the one we're talking, one that had the fire.
No.
Oh, the address you pointed to, yeah, that's not, this is so far off.
Yeah, Bill will start reminding us we're off topic. I mean, residential, when it comes to code and compliance and occupancy, there's very little enforcement capability in municipalities or we have. I think the biggest issue in this case is gonna be compliance with the rental agreement and, what may have been perceived occupancy versus what was found. But that's what the rental agents.
All in all, everybody was lucky.
Unbelievably lucky, yep.
Yeah, I saw you on the Rockford News, it was, like Casey said, it would have been national news if it.
Oh, yeah,
Worse.
I in history, a while ago, We were mutual aid to somewhere where they lost 6 individuals. And yeah, I mean, the trauma that caused in the community, I mean, they just go on and on and on. That lasted for over a decade in terms of the impact that had on the community. So yeah, they're very lucky, we're very lucky, so. Just a couple of things to keep you sort of in the loop. We are pursuing the USDA funding for the fire stations projects. I think I tongue in cheek mentioned that you actually have to apply to the USDA to get approval to apply. We have been approved to apply, so that's a major step forward. And USDA sent their district, this Wisconsin rep down. We had a very good meeting with them, and so very positive things going on there. Throw a tornado in February, it does wonders for, severe weather spotter class. We had actually set this up with the National Weather Service back in November, that we offered to host their class in Rock County this year. 54 people attended that class, so very well attended. New fire chief in Fort Atkinson. I was mentioning to Candy, we had nothing going on this month whatsoever. We had our DSPS every 3 years. We get a detailed premise audit from DSPS on everything that goes into the 2% dues program. So we had our audit on the 28th. No corrective actions identified whatsoever. So we took that as a very nice compliment. We did submit, if you remember last year, we submitted through the federally directed or the congressionally directed grant program to try to get some federal money towards the fire stations project. We resubmitted that grant this year, and we'll just keep resubmitting it. And, obviously, Representative Pocan was here, and I appreciate Edgerton hosting him. It gave us a chance to talk with his staff a little bit about the challenges we're having with Medicare and the reimbursement issues and everything there. So that worked out really well. Not that we didn't have enough audits going on. We actually had our ISO audit. You get audited by ISO every 5 years. We had that during February as well. We're in the top 20% ranking of all departments in the state of Wisconsin, and actually in the top 16% of all departments across the entire country. So I think that's a very nice compliment to our municipality. And then we had, Chris was there. The chamber brought in Wisconsin Workforce Development, and the board is going to get kind of a more detailed presentation on this. The labor challenges that we've been having over the last few years, they are predicting will get worse for the next 7, right, Chris? That was what they were saying.
All us boomers are retiring.
Yeah.
And when you look at the statistics, and they've got, really, really good detailed data. And we're going to talk with the board about some of the challenges that's going to present to us, because not only does it continue to add on the workforce pressures, but because of that shifting in population, right, we're seeing call volumes go up, right, because of the aging of the population. And oh, by the way, as they get past the threshold, then what would be $1,000 recovery on an EMS bill goes down to $155, right? So not only are the call volumes going to continue to go up, but our reimbursement rates are going to continue to fall. So we got some work to do to figure out how to stay ahead of that curve. Other than that, it's my question.
Plan commission, we got a few things down with a couple items separate down here. Public Works.
Public Works met earlier tonight. I'm gonna see that in a second. What else did we do?
There's 2 contracts against you.
I gotta do some. Your notes are better than mine. Let's see. Sewer sidewalk repair, okay, well, let's make a motion, let's go ahead and do the motions first. Motion to consider sidewalk repair contracts, Universal Concrete grinding. Low cost, low bidder. I'll make that a motion, somebody wants to.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve the sidewalk repair contract. Any discussion?
For those who weren't here, Howard actually did research it, and he actually went out and took some pictures of some of their work, and again, other stuff that he looked into and said they were really good, and we're gonna go with it. He said he picked a section of town that he's gonna have them start with, so we're gonna go back, you go back, years ago, we used to do, every year we did a different section of town or whatever, it was every year, we went every 3-4 years, we skipped a couple. Just did a section of town, they're gonna do the same thing, he's divided the city up into 5 different areas. They'll go out, spend what we can, fix the sidewalks in those areas outside of complaint driven, right? We'll still do complaint driven if they find really bad somewhere else. So we're gonna just do that. These guys came in pretty low, so we should be able to get a lot of work done through this bid in that area. And if they go get further than that, we get further in it. So it's an as you go thing.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call.
Burdick,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Motion passes.
We're gonna make a motion to approve a contract for code enforcement services with MCE, Municipal Code Enforcement.
Second.
Motion and a second for the contract with code enforcement. Any discussion?
Okay, everybody, I don't know if everybody's been up on what we're doing on that, we're all good with it. We're contracting out with a firm we got a really nice flexible contract with them to actually go through our codes, find all our dates, our timelines and whatnot, and anything we come up with, like a junkyard in somebody's yard, or vehicles, whatever, any issues, grass, not mowing or shoveling, anything like that, we turn over. They'll do the surveying, follow-up dates, all that kind of stuff. So it kind of takes the load off of City Hall and having to keep track of the 10th day or this day or that day. And we had $5,000 in the budget for this year, so we've got a really open contract that's good through the end of the year. We can renew it if we don't have problems with it, it's on automatic renewal. If we don't have any problems with it, I believe, and without notification, and a 3% increase, or was that, yeah, 3% I think increase, so. And I think that's a couple of year option or something like that, so. But I should explain, it's gonna be a hit and miss for us, so it's how we use it. I know Candy, I think we discussed some of this before, it's how we use it, and learning process, learning curve. So if you got issues, report them as we always would. Let Howard or somebody know. They'll compile it, they'll give it to these guys and they'll get them out there and they'll take care of it. But don't wait till we get lunch, just go ahead and give it to them. They're not gonna have office hours, but we have a 20-hour limit per week. Not that they'll do it because there's no set time or anything. They're not gonna drive around looking for things unless we want them to. If we want to pick a particular time and say, hey, then they could. It's in the contract. So, I leave anything up? Okay. We have a motion and I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Burdick,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Yes. Motion passes.
Okay, the other thing we did on Head Street, we had a request that Howard looked into and Chief was okay with. They request a one-way there on Head Street to turn or to allow parking on the east side of it. And for the history, everybody says back in the old days when the hospital was out there, that was kind of an emergency run. So there was no parking allowed, lets vehicles go through there. It's been a long time. I know I was talking with Ramona before. I got a question on that my first year on council. And I never did anything. Nobody else brought it up again. So now we've got an issue. So Howard went out and looked, didn't have a problem with it. So we're gonna allow it from right after the bend. When you go off of Bolton, there's a little bend. Allow it from that driveway to the very end, the last driveway, right? Yep. So from the first driveway to the last driveway. On the east side. And nobody saw any problems with it. Chief says it should be a problem either. So it gives about 10 or 12 spots for people who live there. surprised.
So nobody's requested it become a two-way again like it was 50 years ago?
No, we're doing that next month. We're just gonna park there first, and then we can say no to the two-way, because you can't park in that lane. That's the only things we covered. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anything to come forward from Parks?
Yeah, Parks met this evening at 5:45. We approved the concept plan for Shelton Veterans Park, and I believe that'll come up at the next council meeting for you guys to take a look at and learn more about. And Gulke was here talking about the pool and staffing. Her staffing is low as far as number of employees coming back. So anybody who knows anybody that wants to work at the pool or racetrack park concessions, put a word out there. She's looking for help. Howard gave a good update on a couple projects going on around town. Also our next parks meeting, we're gonna go out to Racetrack Park and we're gonna look at some possible options for a future skate park pad out there. We're also going to be looking at or discussing having some discussion on possible netting for the ball diamonds. That's something Howard and I are working with the Baseball Association on, as far as some options, continued discussion, whether they had suggested possibly doing a fundraiser to help raise a lot of money for it, so.
Only baseball, are you targeting softball as well?
I'm sorry, baseball and softball, about all of the diamond activities. I clumped that all together, you're right, they are very different. Oh, and Howard and I are going to be working on, I'm looping you in, Howard, you try to help too. For additional discussion on pickleball, as far as courts, as far as possibly looking at someplace indoor also. So those are all things conceptually that we're talking about, and hopefully we'll have some good things to report in the future, in the near future. And that's it for Parks.
All right, thank you. Next item is consider second reading and adoption of the City of Edgerton Ordinance 2404, amending chapter 167, alcohol beverages, section 167-4, license to modify the number of licenses in the downtown and code of ordinances, City of Edgerton, Rocky Bean Counties. So,
Second.
motion and a second to move the second reading and adoption of the, any discussion?
This is the one going for 6 on anything, right? And just when, I kind of trying to look into that, and I kind of looking back to see if I can check the records. It looked like the original petitioner for limiting it to 6 was a Marshall Matt Dillon, Dodge City, Kansas. And, they just didn't want us to be another one, but that's okay. You get it. I don't know when you got that, was that late?
Somebody loves April Fool's. Exactly.
It's my favorite time of the year. I can't believe it. All right, fine.
Didn't want to put a band out of business.
It wasn't that, all right. Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion?
Any real discussion?
Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
No.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Rebo.
Yes. Motion passes 5-1. Next item is consider second reading, adoption of City of Edgerton Ordinance 24-05, amended chapter 450-33E husbandry of chapter 450 zoning ordinances, City of Edgerton, Rock and Dane Counties, Wisconsin.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the second reading and adopt City of Edgerton Ordinance from 407, 2405, we said 7, didn't we? 2405. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Burdick,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is consider second reading and adoption of City of Edgerton ordinance 24-06, amend section 24-20, 240-20. Official zoning map of the Edgerton Code of Zoning Ordinances, City of Edgerton, Rockland Counties, Wisconsin for 111 Interstate Boulevard.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second to do all that. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes. And the next one is to consider second reading and adoption of City of Edgerton ordinance 24-07, there it is. Amend 2015 City of Edgerton Comprehensive Plan for the area known as a portion of the unplatted area south of Orchard Heights subdivision of the City of Edgerton, Wisconsin.
So moved.
Second. Motion and second to approve the second reading and adoption of Edgerton ordinance 24-07. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Burdick,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Motion passes. And the next one is to consider second reading and adoption of City of Edgerton ordinance 24-09, amend the 2015 City of Edgerton Comprehensive Plan for 407 North Main of the City of Edgerton, Wisconsin.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. City of Edgerton ordinance 24-09, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes. And next item is consider City of Edgerton Arbor Day proclamation.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, whoever makes that motion.
You
that's
get
supposed
to
read
read
it.
As shown in.
In our pack.
Okay, a motion the second to the City of Edgerton Arbor Day proclamation. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Mayor, all the person staff reports. Compost is open and yeah, I went up there today in the rain. Brush pickup starts tomorrow, so finally some of that stuff that people have been hoarding will be out to the curb. And it is election day tomorrow, so make sure you use your booths here. Other than that, I have anything. Does anyone else have anything? Oh, okay. What about closed session?
I'll move we go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985 1E, deliberating or negotiating, purchasing of public property, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session to discuss and consider one.
I'll second.
Motion and second, go to closed session, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Preble,
Yes.
Motion passes. We are in closed.